Today I am going to discuss about antifungal agents. Before going to the proper antifungal agents, I like to discuss about various fungal infections, their causative organisms, and briefly about structure of the fungal cell. Why I want to discuss about the structure of the fungal cell? Why? Because it's easy to correlate when we discuss about the antifungal agents, where particularly the antifungal agents will act so that we can understand and remember for a long time. And obviously I will be explaining about the mechanism of action of various antifungal agents and little bit about the recent updates. Let's go to the today's class, fungal infection. To say broadly as a um, medico, we have to tell fungal infection as mycosis. So there are around 400 fungal species that causes disease in animals and fewer causes human disease. As we know, we will encounter less of fungal infection than other organisms because fungal infections are only life-threatening in patients who are immunocompromised, such as patient receiving cancer chemotherapy, solid organ transplant, and antiretroviral drugs. Now, if we classify the fungal disease into two broad categories, that is superficial mycosis and deep or systemic mycosis. What are the superficial mycosis? Which involves the infection of the superficial organs such as skin, nails, hair, and in case of deep systemic mycosis, which involve the systemic involvement and internal organs. So superficial mycosis, which involves candidiasis, and ringworm, which is a common term. And if you go specifically, there are Tinea corporis, Tinea cruris, and onychomycosis, which is the infection of the nail. And coming to systemic mycosis, there is candidiasis, invasive aspergillosis, blastomycosis, cryptococcosis, histoplasmosis, mucormycosis, coccidiomycosis. I am not discussing very much of the detail about the infections and the signs and symptoms that will be taken by microbiologists. I am telling just a classification and more about the antifungal agents. Now coming to the fungal cell structure. So is it important to understand the basis of a fungal cell so that we can correlate where the drug acts easily? So you can see properly here the outer cell wall and inner cell membrane, and here the nucleus where they have the DNA and RNA. So if you go through the cut section, the cell wall which contains various proteins, beta glucans, and most importantly chitin. We all know that chitin is the most important content in the cell wall of the fungal cell, which prevents the fungal cell from other environmental conditions and other organisms. When you go into the cell membrane, there are most important content called ergosterol. We all know that human cell membrane mostly contains cholesterol, whereas in case of fungal cell wall, cell membrane, it contains ergosterol. If we see how the ergosterol is obtained, it is from important ones called squalene. When squalene is there, by the action of squalene epoxide, it will convert into lanosterol, and from the lanosterol we get the fungus get the ergosterol. So if you properly understood, there are two important things we observe in the fungal cell membrane, that is squalene, and which is important for the manufacture of ergosterol. So if you find the drugs which act against these structure, it is easy to remember. I will be explaining all these drugs later, so this is just a brief idea. For example, if you see the DNA synthesis inhibition is by flow cytosine, cell wall inhibitors we will be discussing, cell membrane inhibitors are the terbinafine, azoles, and amphotericin B and nystatin, and the beta glucans, as you see, cell wall contains beta glucan. These echinocandins are inhibiting the beta glucan synthase, which is required for the production of proper cell wall. So going on to antifungal agents, we are seeing the classification first. We classify antifungal agents into broadly 5 categories, which includes polyenes, pyrimidines, imidazoles and triazoles, echinocandin, and systemic drugs for cutaneous infection. This is nothing but already we have explained the classification. We are going through what are all the drugs which are given systemically for cutaneous infection, and lastly topical agents. Coming into polyenes, Amphotericin B is a polyene macrolide which is with the broadest spectrum of activity. Why we are saying broadest spectrum of activity means it acts across wide variety of microorganisms, whether it's a systemic or superficial. The variety of antifungal activity it has, and it acts against many fungus, whether either deep one or superficial one. Coming into types, amphotericin B deoxycholate, amphotericin B colloidal dispersion, liposomal amphotericin B, amphotericin B lipid complex. What is the importance of this type is nothing but solubility. Based on the solubility, the way we give will be easy. Amphotericin B, as if it's insoluble compound, when it is mixed with the deoxycholate, which is a bile salt, it will become very soluble and easy to give IV. Similarly, among these all, they have some little bit of more adverse effects. So they produce that liposomal amphotericin B. Liposomal amphotericin B is nothing but amphotericin B. It's placed inside the liposome, which is a synthetic material, so that apart from amphotericin B exhibiting its systemic effect, the liposome will prevent the amphotericin B and it will deliver the drug where it have to be acted. So the systemic side effects are reduced. Coming into mechanism of action, initially they thought amphotericin B formed by forming a pore in the cell membrane of the fungal cell so that all its contents are getting out and leading to the collapse of the membrane and death of the fungus. As you see in the initial slides, we can see the amphotericin, they have mentioned the amphotericin B showing a pore in the cell membrane and it's getting destroyed. But nowadays they are strongly believing there is amphotericin B, it's acting like a sponge. You imagine amphotericin B as a sponge which will go and absorb the ergosterol so that there won't be any material to form the fungal cell membrane. So now they are believing that mechanism of action of amphotericin B is binding to the ergosterol and preventing it from forming of the fungal cell membrane. So why we are giving amphotericin B systemic fungal disease? As I said, it has the broadest activity among all the antifungals. So we can give systemic for systemic fungal disease. Amphotericin B is given by slow IV infusion at a dosage of 0.5 to 1 milligram per kg per day. What is the importance of amphotericin B? We can give for induction therapy. Induction therapy is nothing but to massive, when there is a massive infection, systemic infection, there will be massive fungal load. So initially we can give amphotericin B to reduce the fungal load, which can be followed by various other antifungal drugs. Why? Because as I said, it have broadest spectrum activity and as usual it have more side effects. That's why we are not preferring this drug for long-term action. So initially we will give these drugs for a few days and we will switch over to other antifungal drugs with less side effects. So coming to pharmacokinetic properties, absorption, GIT absorption very poor, so we are giving IV route. It is widely distributed in peritoneum, pleural fluid and aqueous humor. It is metabolized by liver and it is excreted by renal route only. Uses, as I said, mention only little bit of systemic infection, but it can be used broadly for other infections also. As I said, Candida albicans and Cryptococcus neoform infection, Histoplasma capsulatum, blastomycosis dermatitis, all are systemic infection. We can give amphotericin B. Adverse reaction are two types. One is immediate reaction, another one is late reaction. Immediate reactions include infusion-like reactions such as fever, chills, muscle spasm, vomiting, headache, and hypotension. Whereas late reaction includes renal impairment. Coming to the next group of drugs, which is pyrimidines. In pyrimidines, we are discussing about flucytosine. Flucytosine is nothing but water-soluble pyrimidine analog, which is related to 5-fluorouracil. 5-fluorouracil is nothing but an anti-cancer chemotherapeutic agent. So coming to the spectrum, we saw amphotericin B is broad spectrum. In case of flucytosine, the spectrum is narrower than that of amphotericin B, which we are giving in the dose of 100 milligram per kg per day. Mechanism of action, we see, as I said in the initial slides, flucytosine directly inhibits the DNA synthesis of the fungal cell wall. If we go through proper mechanism action, flucytosine first taken up by the fungal cells via the enzyme cytosine permease. With the help of this enzyme, fungal cells will take the flucytosine. After going inside the body, the fungal flucytosine will converted into 5-fluorouracil, and then it is converted into 5-fluorodeoxyuridine monophosphate and fluorouridine triphosphate. These metabolites will inhibit the DNA and RNA synthesis. Coming to the pharmacokinetic properties, it is absorbed orally. Wide range of distribution is there. It will enter even CSF. Metabolized by the liver. Renal clearance, flucytosine excreted by renal route. T off is 3 to 4 hours. Uses, mostly they are used for Cryptococcus neoformis infection, Candida species, and chromoblastomycosis. Adverse reaction, which is mainly because of this toxic compound called fluorouracil. So this will even inhibit the bone marrow, and there will be bone marrow suppression, which manifests as anemia, leukopenia, thrombocytopenia. And when this fluorocytosine is metabolized in the gut by normal flora, there will be toxic enterocolitis. Now coming to imidazoles and triazoles. According to the number of nitrogen atoms in the 5-membered azole ring, they are classified into imidazole and triazole. I have classified them into imidazoles and triazoles separately so that you can understand easily. First we are seeing imidazoles, which are ketoconazole, miconazole, clotrimazole. Coming to triazoles, they are itraconazole, fluconazole, voriconazole, isavuconazole, posaconazole. All of them acts by the same mechanism of action. They will inhibit the ergosterol synthesis by inhibiting fungal cytochrome P450 enzyme. As I said, when ergosterol got inhibited, there will be limited formation of the cell membrane, or there will be formation of cell membrane, so that the fungal cell membrane collapses, so the whole organism collapses. When coming to the pharmacokinetic properties, there is good oral absorption. Ketoconazole only has oral form, where others have given another route. All others have other forms also, IV form also. When we come to ketoconazole, it only have oral form and topical form. Oral form we are not using, even ketoconazole we are not using nowadays often because of its side effects. Coming to the distribution, there is a wide range of distribution except itraconazole, metabolized by the liver, and all azoles are excreted by hepatic route of excretion except fluconazole. Fluconazole is excreted via renal clearance. Again, its uses are Candida against candidiasis, Cryptococcus neoformis, blastomycosis, coccidioidomycosis, and dose we are giving 100 to 400 milligram per day. Adverse reactions, there will be minor gastrointestinal upset. All azoles have been reported to cause abnormalities in the liver enzyme, but not obviously, and it will not affect the normal life of the person. Very rarely it has been shown it will cause clinical hepatitis. So I like to add on few points about the individual drugs. Ketoconazole, we have to know there is less selective for fungal P450 enzymes, so they are not used for systemic infection. As it said, they are not used for systemic infections because they are less selective for fungal P450 enzymes. So they are not detecting whether it is fungal P450 enzyme or human 450 enzyme. Human also have P450 enzyme, so it's not very specific for fungus only, so we are not using it for systemic infection. Itraconazole, we should know it is a hepatotoxic drug and it is contraindicated in pregnancy also. Fluconazole, contraindicated in during pregnancy, and fluconazole dose we are giving in 100 to 800 mg, where all others we are giving up to 400 mg. Fluconazole we can extend up to 800 mg. Voriconazole has high oral bioavailability. Adverse reactions include visual and auditory hallucinations. Posaconazole bioavailability increases when we give along with food. Adverse reaction include QT prolongation, headache, and gastrointestinal upset. When coming to isavuconazole, oral bioavailability is very high. It's a 98%, and will have advantages of less QT prolongation. Coming to echinocandins, echinocandins are the newest class of antifungal agents. They are largely cyclic peptide-like linked to a long-chain fatty acids. We are having three important drugs in this classification, that is caspofungin, micafungin, and idursulfungin. Echinocandins act as the all have same mechanism of action. If you see properly, they will inhibit the synthesis of beta 1,3 glycan. As I showed initially, they will inhibit the cell wall. So far we have seen DNA synthesis and cell membrane synthesis inhibitors. Now we are seeing about the cell wall inhibitors. We saw three important structures in the cell wall, that is protein, beta glycan, and chitin. Here, echinocandins inhibit the beta glycan so that the cell wall is not produced properly, and there is cell wall disruption and death. If you see the pharmacokinetic property, absorption or very good absorption is there since all are intravenous form. Distribution highly protein bound. It is metabolized in the liver, cleared by the renal route, and little bit about the by the GIT. Dose 50 to 70 mg per day. Uses against candidiasis, aspergillosis, but not against Cryptococcus neoformis. Adverse effects includes minor gastrointestinal side effects and flushing, sometimes elevated liver enzyme. So the side effect profile is quite good. Why? Because they have mild GIT symptoms, flushing, and rarely liver function test elevation. Allylamines. Chrysofulvin, we have two allylamines, chrysofulvin and terbinafine. First, we will be discussing about chrysofulvin. It is a very insoluble fungistatic drug derived from species of penicillin. Please note the word fungistatic because we will be comparing this with the terbinafine, which is a fungicidal drug. It's a coming to chrysofulvin. It's an oral drug for superficial infection. Remember, superficial infection, we are giving chrysofulvin orally and not topically. Since it is given for superficial infection, many people mistake it is given topically. No, it is given orally. And seeing a mechanism of action, it is deposited. It will get deposited in the newly forming skin. To put it a simple way, when we give chrysofulvin, it will go and binds to the keratin where the new skin is formed. So whenever already infection is there, it will be there. It will prevent the new skin infection. So whenever we are giving chrysofulvin, it will bind to the keratin which is forming. So it will prevent the new infection and the older infection will go off. So it will take around 2 to 6 weeks to get cured. When case of nail infection, it even takes 2 months. We are giving at the dose of 1 gram per day. Pharmacokinetic profile, it's well absorbed orally and also improved absorption when given with fatty meal, and a wide range of distribution is there, metabolized in the liver and excreted renally. Mycotic uses, if you see in the, as I said, these are given for superficial mycosis. Adverse reaction, serum sickness, serious skin infection, lupus-like syndrome, hepatotoxicity, and drug interaction. Since it have more serious infection, now the use of chrysofulvin has been limited and the use of terbinafine is increased. Coming to terbinafine, it is a synthetic allylamine that is available in the oral formulation. Dosage 250 mg per day. Mechanism of action, it will inhibit squalene epoxidase, which leads to the accumulation of sterol squalene, which is toxic to fungi. As I said initially, squalene will be there. It will be converted into ergosterol through a series of mechanism and cycle. In this, the first step is conversion of squalene only. So, when squalene epoxidase is very much needed for the conversion of squalene. So, squalene is inhibited in the first level itself. When squalene epoxidase is inhibited, sterol squalene will be there without any conversion. So, there will be accumulation of more squalene and there will be more accumulation of squalene, which is very toxic to the fungi. So, where we are using We are using this for superficial mycosis as I said initially. Adverse reaction, mild gastrointestinal upset, headache, but when in some cases very severe hepatotoxicity has been mentioned, but not as like that of trisulfurylphine. So we have finished the most of the systemic drugs and which is given for superficial infection and deep infection. Now we are coming for topical agents which are given for the superficial infections. Now coming to nystatin. This is a polyene macrolide, much like amphotericin B. So I have already discussed about amphotericin B, so I'm not discussing much of its mechanism of action or anything. Nystatin is a polyene macrolide like that of amphotericin B. It is too toxic for parenteral administration and also unpleasant taste to give orally. So they have given topical forms. What are the forms available? Creams are there, ointments are there, suppositories are there. When coming for the uses, it's used against superficial infections such as vaginal candidiasis, oropharyngeal thrush, and candida species. Coming to azoles, clotrimazole, icanozole, ketoconazole are all used topically. Ketoconazole is available in shampoo, where clotrimazole and icanozole are available as cream. When we use ketoconazole has been used as a shampoo for seborrheic dermatitis. Please correct that. There only one is welcome. Seborrheic dermatitis and pityriasis versicolor, tinea corporis, tinea pedis, and tinea cruris. These all are, as I said, tinea are all a ringworm infection of the body, and this pityriasis versicolor is the seborrheic dermatitis is a scalp infection. This everything they are giving topical azoles. Coming to terbinafine and naftifine, these are allylamines available as topical creams. Both are effective for treatment of tinea cruris and tinea corporis. Coming to recent adverse, I have explained what are all the drugs so far there, and it is being used more often. These are new drugs, nicomycins. Nicomycin will inhibit the chitin synthase. As I said, cell wall, again we are seeing another cell wall inhibitor. Chitin is the component of the cell wall. Nicomycins are inhibiting the chitin synthase so that chitin won't be formed. Since chitin is not there, cell wall formation will be inhibited. Again, we are seeing siderophore, which is in phase 2 clinical trial. Thank you.